A wicked stepmother sold her stepdaughter to a man who has only few days to live before he dies, all for money after the death of her husband, the father of the child. She celebrated getting 50 million naira for a broken girl. Dancing with greed, she thought she'd finally won. She had no idea she just signed her own death warrant. Sit back and watch as we dive into this emotional story of betrayal, hidden identity, and deadly revenge. Don't forget to like and drop your comments. In the bustling heart of Lagos lived Amanda Okere, a young woman with a secret that could either save or destroy the most powerful oil family in Nigeria. Nobody knew that behind her vacant stare and childish giggles lay the mind of the legendary ghost doctor of Lagos, trained by 7 generations of village healers. Today, she sat in the back of her stepmother's Mercedes, pretending to count her fingers while Madame Beatrice collected 50 million naira for selling her like cattle. "Remember what I told you," Madame Beatrice hissed, adjusting her expensive jail. "Don't suddenly become smart in front of these rich people. These rich people want a fool they can control, not someone who will challenge them. I know sometimes you have your clear moments, but today you better be as stupid as the day you came back from your grandmother's. Keep your mouth shut and giggle when they talk to you." Amanda maintained her vacant stare while her mind burned with the truth of why she was here. 21 years ago, her mother had been an auditor, a woman whose job was to check financial records and ensure no money was being stolen. Grace Okere had discovered something devastating. Someone was stealing crude oil from the refinery and selling it illegally, making millions while the company books showed losses. She wrote a detailed report exposing the thief. 2 days after filing that report, Grace Okere was dead. She and her colleague, Mrs. Ike, the owner's wife who had helped with the investigation, were locked inside a refinery storage room. The doors were sealed from outside. Then came the fire. The newspapers called it a tragic accident, but Amanda knew better. The man her mother was about to expose had burned both women alive to protect his secret. 6 months later, Beatrice appeared at their door, claiming to love Amanda's grieving father. But she wasn't there for love. The killers had sent her to spy on their victim's daughter, paying her $5,000 monthly to ensure little Amanda remained broken and useless, too damaged to ever seek justice for her mother's murder. When 8-year-old Amanda began asking too many questions about her mother's death and started researching, showing the same sharp intelligence that had made her late mother, Grace Okere, such a good auditor, Beatrice, her stepmother, noticed what was going on and acted. The meningitis that nearly killed Amanda wasn't random. Her stepmother had deliberately exposed her to the disease, hoping to destroy the brilliant mind that might one day seek revenge. But Amanda survived, saved by her grandmother, who taught her the most important lesson: let them think the fever broke you. For 13 years, she had worn the mask of a brain-damaged fool while secretly becoming the legendary ghost doctor of Lagos. Now, after 21 years of payments, the final transaction was taking place. Beatrice was delivering Amanda to the very family responsible for her mother's murder as a bride for their dying heir. They thought they were buying a beautiful fool who would never understand legal documents or question mysterious deaths. The Mercedes slowed as they approached the massive gates. Amanda nodded slowly, letting drool gather at the corner of her mouth as armed guards checked their papers at the compound of the Ike family, oil billionaires who controlled half of Nigeria's petroleum industry. "We're here," Beatrice announced as they passed through the gates. Asterisk. Yes, asterisk, Amanda thought, her vacant smile never wavering. Asterisk. After 21 years, I'm finally here, in the house of the man who murdered my mother. And he's about to discover that some ghosts don't stay buried. The Victoria Island mansion sprawled before them like a small city. Armed guards checked their papers while house staff peered from windows, already gossiping about the village fool who would marry their crippled young master. Amanda heard their whispers clearly. A fool marrying a cripple. What a match made in heaven. She clutched her grandmother's old handbag tighter, feeling the weight of the medicinal pouches hidden inside. As they entered the grand foyer, Amanda's trained eyes immediately assessed the household. Expensive marble floors that couldn't hide the spiritual darkness. Crystal chandeliers that sparkled above hearts full of greed. And somewhere in this palace of oil money, a young man was slowly dying from poison, not knowing his bride would be his salvation. "Where is she? Where is this fool you've brought for my nephew?" A sharp voice cut through the air. Uncle Charles emerged from the sitting room, his expensive agbada unable to hide the evil radiating from him. Beside him stood his son Edward Jr., eyes already calculating how to dispose of this new obstacle to their inheritance plans. "Good afternoon, sir," Beatrice grovelled. "This is Amanda. As we discussed, she is a brain-damaged fool, but healthy. She can give your nephew children before his condition worsens." Amanda let out a silly giggle and waved at Uncle Charles like a child. "Uncle, you have a big house. So many rooms. Can I count them?" She clapped her hands and spun in a circle, nearly knocking over a priceless vase. Edward Jr. smirked. "At least she's pretty. Too bad her brain is empty. Though I suppose that makes her perfect for my dying cousin." "Enough!" Chief Ike's voice boomed from the top of the marble staircase. The patriarch of the Ike family descended slowly, his presence commanding respect, despite his 70 years. "This young woman is a guest in our home and will be treated with dignity." Amanda studied the old man carefully. Unlike his younger son Charles, Chief Ike's spirit was clean, merely clouded by sorrow and the terrible suspicion that had been eating at his heart for months. A father's intuition telling him something was desperately wrong with his beloved grandson's condition, though he could never bring himself to believe his own son could be capable of such evil, the doubt haunting his sleepless nights like a ghost he dared not name. She would help him too, when the time was right. "Come, child," Chief Ike said gently. "Let me take you to meet Anthony. Don't mind these ones. They have forgotten their manners in their hunger for money." As they walked through the mansion's endless corridors, Amanda's supernatural senses picked up Chief Ike's deep grief, a father's broken heart that pulsed with every step. She understood now why they'd wanted a fool for a bride. Chief Ike had built his empire from nothing, a village boy who struck oil in the Delta and never forgot his roots. While others hoarded wealth, he built schools and hospitals. When workers' children fell sick, he paid their medical bills. His biological son had married Adaez, a brilliant woman who shared the family's values. Together they'd raised Anthony to believe that money meant responsibility, not just power. But the murder 20 years ago, when his daughter-in-law Adaez was burned alive in that refinery explosion, leaving his son to die of grief within a year, had broken something in Chief Ike. He'd retreated into sorrow, letting Charles, his adopted son, handle more of the business while he focused solely on Anthony, his orphaned grandson, the last link to his biological son. Now, watching his grandson dying, the old man who'd once been strong enough to build an empire was just a grandfather terrified of losing the only family that mattered. Charles had always been different. Adopted as a teenager after his parents died, he'd never felt like a true son despite Chief Ike's kindness. Where the biological son inherited naturally, Charles had to fight for every scrap of recognition. The will that gave the biological son 60%, while Charles got 20%, had been the final insult. For 20 years after orchestrating the refinery explosion that killed his sister-in-law, he'd played the dutiful adopted son, slowly poisoning not just Anthony's body, but Chief Ike's judgment. Every whispered advice, every business decision, every family matter, all calculated moves in a chess game only he knew he was playing. If he couldn't inherit as a son, he'd take it all as the last one standing. 6 months ago, when doctors said Anthony had less than a year to live, Chief Ike had wept like a child. "Please, just let him leave an heir," the old man had begged God in his prayers. "Don't let my son's bloodline die with him. Don't let my biological son's legacy disappear from this world." At first, they tried the proper way. Good families, wealthy families, respected families. But each time the same cruel scene repeated. beautiful young women arriving with hope, only to flee in horror after discovering his sickness. They stopped at a heavy wooden door. Chief Ike knocked gently. "Anthony, your bride has arrived. Send her away, grandfather. I told you I don't want this arrangement." The voice from inside was weak but proud, laced with barely controlled anger. "Just meet her, my boy. For me." The door opened to reveal Anthony Ike in his wheelchair, and Amanda's heart stopped. Even sick and dying, he was the most handsome man she had ever seen. But more than that, she recognized him. The eyes that met hers were the same ones that had cried with her 20 years ago when both their mothers died on the same day. He didn't recognize her. How could he? She had been 3 years old, he had been 5. 22 years had passed since that terrible day that stole their mothers and shattered their childhood dreams. But she remembered everything. The oil refinery explosion that killed their mothers, the dragonfly charm she had pressed into his hand, the promise that butterflies and dragonflies would carry their mother's spirits to heaven. "So you're the fool," Anthony said coldly, maneuvering his wheelchair closer. "What's your name?" "Amanda," she chirped, bouncing on her toes. "You're in a chair with wheels. Can I push? It looks fun." Something flickered in Anthony's eyes, not mockery like the others, but curiosity. He studied her face carefully, as if trying to solve a puzzle. "Leave us, grandfather. I'll speak with her alone." Chief Ike hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes, if I'm to marry a fool, I should at least know what kind of fool she is." When the door closed, Amanda felt the weight of Anthony's gaze. She maintained her act, humming a children's song while examining his collection of books. Medical journals, business reports, investigation files barely hidden under newspapers. He was searching for something, or someone. "Tell me," Anthony said suddenly, "do you know why you're here?" "To marry you," Amanda said brightly. "Mama said if I'm good I can have lollipops. Do you have lollipops?" "No lollipops, but I have questions. Why would a beautiful young woman agree to marry a dying cripple?" Amanda tilted her head, pretending to think hard. Because you need help. Mama said you're sick. When I'm sick, I like when people help me. I can help you. And how exactly would a fool help me?" This was her chance. Amanda skipped over to his wheelchair and before he could stop her, grabbed his wrist as if to shake his hand. In that brief moment of contact, her fingertips, trained by grandmother's loving hands to read pulse patterns, skin temperature, and muscle tension, detected the telltale signs of systematic poisoning that her broken heart had learned to recognize after watching it nearly kill her own father years ago. "You're not extremely ill," she said in her childish voice, her grandmother's tearful final lesson echoing in her heart. "My precious child, when you must hide your gifts from evil people, speak their language but think with your training. Let them hear simple words while you see complex truths. Someone is making you drink bad medicine that hurts your liver and makes your hands shake." Anthony went rigid. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. "What did you say?" "Ow, you're hurting me," Amanda whimpered, letting tears gather in her eyes. "I just wanted to help. Grandmother taught me about herbs and medicine before she went to heaven. She said some medicine helps and some medicine hurts." Anthony released her, but his eyes burned with intensity. "Your grandmother taught you about medicine?" "Mm-hmm. She was the best healer in our village. She saved me when I was very sick, and Mama wanted me to die. But shh, it's a secret. Mama doesn't like when I talk about grandmother." For the first time since she entered, Anthony's expression softened slightly. "We all have our secrets, don't we?" Amanda reached into her grandmother's handbag and pulled out a small pouch. "This is for you. Before grandmother went to join the ancestors 3 years ago, she made me promise to use her knowledge to save good people from evil medicine. She said angels would guide me to those who needed healing most. But you have to hide it because bad people don't like when good medicine works." Anthony took the pouch, inhaling its scent. His eyes widened slightly. The herbs were rare, expensive, and exactly what someone would need to counteract the type of poison in his system. No fool would know this. "Who are you really?" he whispered, Amanda just giggled and spun in another circle. I'm Amanda, your new wife. Can we have a big wedding? I want to wear a pretty dress. A knock interrupted them. Uncle Charles entered without waiting for permission, Edward Jr. trailing behind. Ah, Anthony, getting to know your bride? Excellent. We should discuss the wedding arrangements. Something simple, of course. No need for elaborate ceremonies given your condition. I'll decide what kind of wedding I have, Uncle. Anthony's voice had gained strength, though Amanda noticed he still played up his weakness. Of course, but be practical, nephew. You can barely stay awake for an hour. How will you manage a full ceremony? Charles's fake concern made Amanda's skin crawl. I said I'll handle it. Anthony's tone brooked no argument. Edward Jr. stepped forward with a glass of water and pills. Time for your evening medicine, cousin. Amanda watched Anthony's jaw tighten. Now she understood. They were poisoning him through his daily medication. Probably had been for months or years. Before she could think, she knocked the glass from Edward's hand. Oops! Clumsy Amanda! Water everywhere! She grabbed a tissue and started dabbing at Edward's expensive shoes. Sorry, I wanted to help give medicine, but my hands don't work right sometimes. You stupid fool! Edward shoved her away. These shoes cost more than your entire village. Edward. Chief Ike's voice cracked like a whip from the doorway. Apologize immediately. But grandfather, Apologize. Edward grudgingly muttered an apology, while Uncle Charles tried to smooth things over. No harm done. The girl didn't mean it, though perhaps she needs supervision. We can't have her breaking things or interfering with Anthony's medical routine. I'll supervise her, Anthony said firmly. She's my bride, my responsibility. Amanda beamed at him. I'll be good, I promise. No more breaking. After the others left, Anthony maneuvered his chair closer to her. That wasn't an accident. Everything's an accident when you're a fool, Amanda said in her normal voice for just a moment, before reverting to giggles. Anthony's eyes sharpened. He opened the pouch she'd given him, inhaling deeply again. My mother used to make something that smelled like this, before she died in that refinery explosion. Amanda's heart clenched, but she maintained her act. Explosions are scary. Fire and boom. Yes, fire and boom. And 2 women dead on the same day. 2 children left orphaned. He watched her carefully. Strange coincidence, wouldn't you say? I don't know big words, Amanda said, but she let their eyes meet for just a moment. In that brief connection, she tried to tell him without words, I remember you. I remember everything. And I'm here to help you find justice. The next morning, Amanda woke to the sound of servants gossiping outside her door. She had been given a small room in the servants' quarters, Uncle Charles's idea of putting her in her place. She didn't mind. It kept her closer to the kitchen where she could monitor Anthony's food and medicine. Can you believe it? The fool spilled water on young Master Edward, whispered the first maid, her voice thick with the cruelty that comes from believing someone can't understand. She's too stupid to know better. But did you see how Master Anthony defended her? Added another, unaware that behind the door, Amanda's heart was breaking as she remembered how her own mother had once defended her against similar whispers. He's just lonely, sighed the third maid sadly. When you're dying, even a fool's company seems better than nothing. Amanda stretched and prepared for another day of deception. She had spent the night analyzing the poison traces from Anthony's body. It was a sophisticated cocktail. Whoever was doing this had medical knowledge. Not enough to kill quickly, just enough to ensure a slow, painful decline that looked like natural illness. She dressed in the simple clothes Beatrice had packed for her and skipped down to the kitchen, humming off-key. The cook, Mama Sidi, looked up with pity. Good morning, young madam. You're up early. Good morning. I like mornings. Can I help cook? I want to make something nice for Anthony. Mama Sidi's expression softened. That's sweet, child. But the young master has a special diet. Doctor's orders. What doctor? Amanda asked innocently, picking up a wooden spoon to play with. Dr. Emeka. He comes every week to check on the young master and adjust his medications. Amanda filed this information away. Is he a nice doctor? Nice enough, though he's very close with Master Charles. They went to university together. Of course, the conspiracy ran deeper than just family. Amanda pretended to lose interest, wandering around the kitchen until she spotted the medicine tray being prepared for Anthony. When Mama Siddy turned to check the stove, Amanda quickly switched 2 of the pills with harmless vitamins from her pouch. "What are you doing?" Auntie Helen, the housekeeper, appeared behind her. Amanda jumped and giggled. "Looking at pretty colors. The pills are like rainbows." Auntie Helen studied her suspiciously. "Don't touch the young master's medicine. It's very important he takes exactly what the doctor prescribed." "Okay, no touching." Amanda saluted playfully and skipped away, but not before noticing the gambling receipt sticking out of Auntie Helen's pocket. Interesting. The housekeeper had money problems. Amanda made her way to Anthony's room, where she found him struggling to get from his bed to his wheelchair alone. But something was different. His legs moved with more strength than yesterday, and for a brief moment, she saw him almost stand before collapsing back onto the bed, tears of frustration streaming down his face. His pride wouldn't let him call for help, but his body was remembering what it meant to be whole. "Let me help!" She rushed over, using the opportunity to send more healing energy through her touch. "I don't need—" He stopped, feeling the subtle warmth spreading through his body. "What are you doing?" "Helping," Amanda said brightly. "Grandmother said healing hands run in our family. But shh, it's pretend healing, like playing doctor." Anthony allowed her to help him into the chair, his expression thoughtful. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" "I like surprises. Do you have surprises?" "Perhaps." He wheeled himself to his desk, where investigation files lay scattered. "Tell me, Amanda, what do you see when you look at these papers?" She studied the documents with fake confusion. They were records from the refinery explosion 20 years ago. Death certificates for 2 women, one named Mrs. Adaisy Ike, the other Mrs. Grace O'Keefe, her mother. "Pretty papers," she said, but her hand trembled slightly. Anthony noticed. 2 women died that day. They were investigating something at the refinery, something about illegal oil deals and safety violations. Then boom, an accident that killed them both. Amanda's eyes filled with genuine tears. Boom is sad, makes people die. Yes, and sometimes the people who cause the boom get away with it. They get rich while children grow up without mothers. His voice was bitter. "I've spent years trying to prove it wasn't an accident, that someone wanted them dead." Unable to maintain her act completely, Amanda sat on the floor beside his wheelchair and pulled out something from her bag, the dragonfly charm she'd kept all these years. "When sad things happen, dragonflies help," she said in her childish voice. "They carry prayers to heaven. Someone told me that once." Anthony went very still. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out an identical charm, faded with age. "A little girl gave this to me the day of the explosion. She said dragonflies would carry our mother's spirits home." Their eyes met, and for a moment the masks slipped. "It can't be," Anthony whispered. "That little girl, her name was Grace, like her mother, but they said she died. The fever." "Grandmother saved Grace," Amanda said carefully, still in character. "Gave her new name. Amanda means worthy of love, better than Grace who nobody wanted." "My God." Anthony's hand found hers. "It's really you after all these years?" A knock shattered the moment. Uncle Charles entered with Dr. Emika. "Time for your weekly checkup, nephew, and I see your bride is here. Perfect timing. We should discuss her capabilities." Dr. Emika was a thin man, with calculating eyes that held the haunted look of someone who'd sold his medical oath for 30 pieces of silver. His gambling debts and his sick wife's medical bills had made him Charles's puppet, forcing him to slowly murder the son of the woman who had once saved his career from a malpractice lawsuit, a betrayal that ate at his soul every sleepless night. "Ah yes, the mentally challenged bride. We should run some tests, make sure any children won't inherit her condition." "No tests," Amanda squeaked, scrambling behind Anthony's chair. "Doctor's scary, needles hurt." Now, Uncle Charles soothed with fake kindness. "We just want to make sure you're healthy for Anthony's sake." She's fine, Anthony said firmly. No tests. Be reasonable, nephew. You're already dealing with your own health issues. Do you really want to risk having defective children? Anthony's hands clenched on his wheelchair arms. I said no tests. Amanda is my fiancée and she'll be treated with respect. Dr. Emeka exchanged glances with Charles, his hands shaking as he remembered his wife's final words. Promise me you'll do good with your medical knowledge. Words that now mocked him as he prepared to betray his oath once again. Very well, but I must insist on examining you. Your color looks worse today. As the doctor performed his examination, Amanda watched carefully. He was checking all the wrong things, ignoring obvious signs of poisoning, while focusing on symptoms that would support a narrative of natural decline. When he prepared an injection, Amanda couldn't stay silent. What's in the needle? She asked, bouncing anxiously. Medicine to help with pain, Dr. Emeka said dismissively. What kind? What kind? I like learning medicine names. She clapped her hands excitedly. It's too complicated for you to understand, Charles said. Run along and play. But Anthony held up his hand. Actually, I'd like to know too. What exactly are you giving me? Dr. Emeka rattled off a complex medical name. Amanda recognized it immediately. It would interact badly with the poison already in his system, accelerating the damage. Oh, I know that one. Amanda jumped up and down, her heart breaking as she remembered her grandmother's patient voice, teaching a frightened 8-year-old about drug interactions after Beatrice's first poisoning attempt. Grandmother said that medicine is bad with some foods, makes people very sick. You can't eat, what was it? She pretended to think hard, while her trained mind calculated the deadly combination. What nonsense is she spouting now? Charles said impatiently. Grapefruit, Amanda announced triumphantly. No grapefruit with that medicine. Dr. Emeka went pale. It was true. The medication had serious interactions with grapefruit. But more importantly, it revealed she actually understood pharmacology. How does she know that? He stammered. Grandmother was village healer. She taught me songs about medicine. Amanda's voice caught slightly, remembering the woman who'd raised her for 15 beautiful years before heaven called her home just 3 years ago, leaving Amanda truly alone until this moment. She started singing off-key about drug interactions, dancing around the room to hide the tears that threatened to fall. Anthony's eyes glinted with dark amusement. You know what, Doctor? I think I'll skip the injection today. My bride's grandmother's wisdom has me curious about alternative approaches. This is ridiculous, Charles exploded. You're going to trust the ramblings of a brain-damaged village girl over a trained physician? Why not? Anthony said calmly. The trained physician hasn't made me any better in 2 years. Maybe it's time to try something new. After they stormed out, Anthony turned to Amanda. That was brilliant. She maintained her character, giggling and spinning. I remembered the song. Grandmother had songs for everything. I'm sure she did. He wheeled closer. Tell me, what other songs did she teach you? Amanda knelt beside him, pulling herbs from her bag. Songs about plants that heal. Songs about foods that hurt. Songs about people who pretend to help but really harm. She noticed his phone on the desk, and a painful memory of her mother's final words about gathering evidence flashed through her mind. Grandmother always said truth needs witnesses. When bad people think no one is listening, that's when they tell their real plans. She looked up at him meaningfully. Would you like to learn some? Yes, Anthony said softly. Teach me everything. As Amanda began preparing a real healing tea, she felt the dragonfly charm warm against her chest. Their mother's spirits were surely watching, guiding them toward justice. The pretense was exhausting, but necessary. Uncle Charles and his conspirators had no idea that their fool bride was actually their downfall in disguise. She handed Anthony the tea, their fingers brushing. This time, he didn't pull away from the healing warmth. To mothers who died for truth, he said quietly, raising the cup. And children who lived to finish their work, Amanda whispered back, forgetting her character for just a moment. They drank together, 2 orphans bound by tragedy and deception, while the walls of the Ike mansion held their breath for what was to come. 3 days had passed since Amanda's arrival, and the Ike mansion buzzed with preparation for an engagement ceremony that Uncle Charles insisted on organizing. A small affair, he claimed, though Amanda noticed he'd invited several journalists and business associates, witnesses to Anthony's supposed deteriorating condition. Amanda found herself in the servants' quarters, teaching some of the younger maids card games when Auntie Helen stormed in. "You fool girl, what did you do to my nephew's medicine?" "Medicine?" Amanda blinked innocently. "I don't touch medicine, only pretty flowers. Don't lie to me. The young master has been refusing his injections ever since you arrived. Now he's asking for traditional remedies instead of proper medication." Auntie Helen grabbed Amanda's wrist roughly. "What poison are you feeding him? Ow, you're hurting me," Amanda whimpered, but she noticed the desperation in the housekeeper's eyes. The gambling receipts she'd seen earlier made sense now. Someone was paying Auntie Helen to ensure Anthony took his medicine. Leave her alone. Uncle Matthew, the elderly butler whose own daughter had died in Anthony's mother's arms during the refinery explosion, making him the only servant who truly understood the depth of evil in this house, appeared in the doorway, his weathered hands trembling with 40 years of suppressed grief and loyalty to the woman who had tried to save his child. "Or would you like me to tell Chief Ike how you treat his grandson's fiancée?" Auntie Helen released Amanda, but her eyes promised retribution. After she left, Uncle Matthew helped Amanda to her feet. "Be careful, child. There are snakes in this house, and some wear friendly faces." "Thank you, Uncle," Amanda said in her normal voice for just a moment, then quickly reverted to giggles. "You're nice, not like the mean lady." Uncle Matthew studied her carefully. "Your grandmother, was she perhaps from Ig Betty village?" Amanda's heart raced, but she maintained her act. "Grandmother lived in a village with chickens." "I thought so. I knew a healer from there once. She could cure any poison, see through any deception." He patted her shoulder gently. "The ancestors work in mysterious ways." That evening, Amanda prepared Anthony's medicinal bath while he watched from his wheelchair. She had been treating him secretly for 3 days, replacing his poisoned medications with healing herbs, sending energy through every touch. The change was subtle but noticeable. His color had improved, his hands steadier. "You're humming?" he observed. "Happy song. Grandmother said healing works better with happy songs." "Of course she did." He began unbuttoning his shirt with steadier fingers than he'd had in months. "Tell me about these baths. What exactly goes in them?" Amanda recited a childish rhyme about herbs, while her trained hands performed the sacred ritual her grandmother had taught her with tears of love. 3 pinches of bitter leaf crushed between her palms until the oils released their healing scent, followed by 7 drops of dogoyaro extract measured with the same wooden spoon her grandmother had carved by hand. Each ingredient added to the bath water in the exact sequence that had been passed down through 7 generations of healers who had never forgotten that medicine was both science and prayer. Bitter leaf for cleaning blood, dogoyaro for strength, and special secret ingredients. She pulled out a vial of oil that shimmered strangely in the light. "What's that?" "Blessed oil. Grandmother blessed it under full moon with prayers for—" She paused, then whispered conspiratorially, "for catching bad people who hurt good people." Anthony's eyes sharpened. "Is that so?" She said when bad people touch it, their skin tells truth, but good people just get healthy." She poured the oil into the bath water. "Want to try?" As Anthony lowered himself into the bath with her help, he gasped. The water tingled with an almost electric energy, and he could swear he felt strength returning to muscles that had been weak for months. "This is incredible," he breathed. "Shh," Amanda giggled. "Secret healing. If bad people know, they get angry." "Speaking of bad people," Anthony said, relaxing into the warmth and secretly flexing his legs underwater. The first time in months he'd felt real sensation in his feet. A miracle he dared not speak aloud for fear it might disappear. "I've been thinking about our mothers. You know what I discovered? The refinery explosion happened just 2 days after they filed a report about illegal oil exports. Someone was stealing crude and selling it offshore." Amanda sat beside the tub, playing with the water, remembering her grandmother's gentle voice. Child. Sometimes healing means making people face truths they've buried deep in their hearts. There are herbs that don't just heal the body. They heal the soul by bringing buried guilt to light. She touched the small vial hidden in her dress pocket. Stealing is bad, makes ancestors angry. Yes, and guess who was in charge of that refinery's operations 20 years ago? Who? She clapped excitedly. A young engineer named Charles Ike, my uncle. Amanda let her mask slip for just a moment, meeting his eyes with deadly seriousness, before returning to childish wonder. Your uncle was there when the boom happened? Not just there. He was conveniently in a meeting miles away when the explosion occurred, the only senior staff member who survived. Anthony's voice was bitter, and within a year he was promoted to executive management. Built his fortune on our mother's graves. That makes my heart hurt, Amanda said truthfully, tears gathering. Mothers should be alive, should see their babies grow. Anthony reached out with a wet hand to touch her face. We'll make them pay, Grace. I mean, Amanda. Every last one of them. His voice cracked with pain. I heard your father survived the car accident they arranged for him. He's hiding somewhere, probably terrified they'll finish what they started. But we lost everything that night. Our mothers, our childhood, our chance to grow up together. A tear slipped down his cheek. I used to dream about the little girl with the dragonfly charm. Wonder if she remembered me too. A knock interrupted them. Cousin, are you decent? Edward Jr., Ass's voice called out. One moment, Anthony called back, then whispered to Amanda, help me look weak. She quickly helped him out of the bath and into a robe, then answered the door while Anthony slumped in his wheelchair, playing up his illness. Edward entered carrying a briefcase. A father wanted me to bring these papers for you to sign. Power of attorney documents in case your health deteriorates further. How thoughtful, Anthony said weakly. Leave them. I'll review them. Actually, father insists you sign them now. The lawyers are waiting. Amanda skipped over to look at the papers. Pretty papers. Can I draw on them? No. Edward snatched them away. These are important legal documents, you fool. Edward. Anthony's voice carried warning despite his feigned weakness. Sorry, cousin, but surely you see the wisdom in protecting your assets? If something happens to you, we need to ensure the company remains stable. Then I'll just have to live, won't I? Anthony smiled coldly. Now get out. My fiancé and I need privacy. After Edward stormed out, Amanda locked the door and returned to Anthony's side. He's scared. They're all scared. You're getting better ruins their plans. Good. Anthony pulled her closer. And their desperation is showing. Did you know Uncle Charles has been planning an engagement party for us? An engagement party? Amanda tilted her head, maintaining her character even in private. I overheard him on the phone this morning. A small affair, he claims, but he's inviting journalists and business associates. He wants witnesses to see me looking weak and signing documents. Anthony's jaw tightened. He's planning to use our engagement celebration as the stage for his final move. When is this party? In 2 days. That's why Edward was so insistent about the papers today. They want everything in place before the guests arrive. Anthony's eyes gleamed with dark satisfaction. But what Uncle Charles doesn't know is that two can play at using public events for revelations. Amanda understood immediately. You want to turn their trap into ours? Exactly. At the engagement party, I want you to watch everyone carefully. Uncle Charles is planning something beyond just papers. How do you know? Because I've been planning something too. He reached under his mattress and pulled out a small recording device. Every threat, every mention of poison, every conspiratorial whisper, I have it all. But I need more. I need them to reveal the murder conspiracy. Amanda understood. You want me to make them confess, but how? By being exactly what they expect. A fool who might accidentally ruin their plans. They'll talk freely around you, maybe even try to use you. He cupped her face gently. Can you do it? Can you be my secret weapon while playing their fool? For you, for our mothers, I can be anything. She leaned into his touch. But Anthony, what if they try to hurt you at the party? Then my brilliant fool bride will save me, won't she? He smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. After all, you've been doing it since you arrived. That night, Amanda prepared for the engagement party with unusual care. Hidden in her traditional outfit were various herbs and protective charms. Beatrice arrived to help her prepare, though her real intention was clear. Listen carefully. You stupid girl, Beatrice hissed while roughly braiding Amanda's hair. At the party in 2 days, you will sign whatever papers they give you. You will smile, giggle, and do exactly as Uncle Charles says. Do you understand? Papers. I love papers, Amanda clapped. Good. And if anyone asks about Anthony's health, you tell them he's getting worse. Say he can barely stay awake, that he talks to dead people. Make them believe he's losing his mind. Oh, like the time I talked to Grandma's ghost? Amanda asked innocently. Beatrice slapped her. Don't mention that witch. Just do as you're told, or I'll make sure you regret it. Amanda let tears fall, playing the abused fool perfectly, while inside she burned with rage. In 2 days at the engagement party, the masks would begin to crack. The ghost doctor of Lagos was ready to reveal just enough truth to make the guilty confess their crimes. As Beatrice left, Amanda touched the dragonfly charm hidden beneath her clothes. Soon, Mama, she whispered. Soon they'll all pay for what they did to you. If you're eager to see how this story unfolds, please subscribe and let us know in the comments below. Type continue. If you want to see episode 2, your feedback will help shape future videos on this channel.